The vibrant red color further enhances their passion, energy, and determination. It symbolizes their boldness and unwavering commitment, epitomizing their influential presence and courageous endeavors, demonstrating their growth, empowerment ability to make a lasting impact. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so delighted that you are able to be here with us today at the Women in Cyber Luncheon here at CYDES, brought to you by Microsoft Malaysia. As a gentle reminder, we seek your cooperation in switching your mobile phones and other gadgets to silent mode throughout this event. I'd like to inform you as well, ladies and gentlemen, that there will be a lucky draw at the end of this luncheon. So if you have not already, we encourage you to drop your business cards at the registration counter. Now is the time to make a beeline because there will be 10 lucky winners with very, very special prizes. We will also be joined by a virtual audience among our virtual speakers today who are streaming live today. And so we are so excited that this session is not only for women and our allies, but it is a session that is fully hybrid. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, we will be starting our event shortly. We request that you kindly take your seats, switch off your mobile phones or turn it to silent mode as we will commence shortly. Thank you. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite those of us who are sitting in the back or anywhere in this room to please kindly fill up the tables in the front row as well. Do not be shy. While it says VIPs, we all believe that you are all very important people here gathered in this room. So if you'd like to, please go ahead and move on to the front table. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For those of us who are just joining us this afternoon, I'd like to invite you to come forward to fill up the tables in the front. And we will kindly request for all guests to take their seats as we will commence shortly. A very good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kathy Fernandez, and I will be your MC for this event. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mrs. Sharifah Rashida binti Said Othman, Acting Chief Executive of the National National Security Council, who is joining us online. Dr. Yasmin Begum, Regional Director, Legal and Government Affairs at Microsoft Asia Pacific. Ms. Adila Junid, Director, Legal and Government Affairs at Microsoft Malaysia. Dr. Norzila Zakaria, Educational Psychiatrist at the Hospital University Science Malaysia, School of Medical Sciences. Mrs. Anita Jacobson, Managing Director, Alpine Integrated Solutions, co-organizers of CYDES 2023. Dr. Yasmin Raja Abdul and co-authors of She Inspires Leaders, who are also joining us online. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we warmly welcome you once again to the Women in Cyber Luncheon here at CYDES 2023, brought to you by Microsoft Malaysia. The Women in Cyber Luncheon session serves as a powerful platform for empowering and celebrating the remarkable contributions of women leaders and their inspiring journeys. This special program is centered around the theme of the book, She Inspires Leaders, a project led by Dr. Yasmin Raja Abdul. We will be exploring the area of women leadership qualities through the stories, personal sharings, and discussions held here today. We hope that you take this opportunity to engage with the remarkable women, men, leaders around you, that you gather insights into their experiences and be inspired to shape your own path of leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to cordially invite Mrs. Sharifah Rashida Said Othman, Acting Chief Executive of National Cybersecurity Agency, NACSA, for her welcoming address, where she will be joining us online. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the screen and let's put our hands together to welcome Mrs. Sharifah Rashida.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Kathy. Dr. Yasmin Begum, Regional Director, Legal and Government Affairs, Microsoft APAC. Ms. Adila Junid, Director, Legal and Government Affairs, Microsoft Malaysia. Dr. Yasmin Raja Abdullah, Project Leader and author of the She Inspires Leaders book. Also joined virtually her fellows co-authors, Zeynep, Kathryn, Saalihah, Hannah, and Dr. Norzila Zakaria, who is physically over there. I hope I do not miss anyone from the audience, from the co-authors. Please correct me, Dr. Yasmin. Okay, first and foremost, let me extend a warm welcome to all of you to this luncheon talk. I honestly want to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you for being here today. Your presence is truly appreciated as we come together to celebrate, and I believe that to empower women in the field of cybersecurity. I wanted to be there. I truly wanted to be there, but unfortunately, due to some last-minute arrangement from the top management, I'm currently in Putrajaya. I will have a meeting at 1 p.m., but I don't want to miss it. I know this is going to be exciting. I hold a strong commitment in championing the Women in Cyber program in Malaysia, which I believe that this is a start for many more programs that we can coordinate in future. And I also want to thank the men in the luncheon talk, which truly supporting that attended today, which show the support that you have in terms of elevating women in this this area. I believe that some women face barriers and got some limited opportunities, and sometimes women are built complex. I mean, I can say that. Sometimes we hesitate, which sometimes will hinder the progress. So some of it associated to the expectations, to the legacy, and what we need to achieve as a daughter, wife, women, and as a woman in general. So I would like to share that my personal support in terms of elevating the women and next generations today. And I believe that this is why we have gathered here today to listen to all the co-authors about their experience. And today's sessions is not so much on the cybersecurity domain. It's not about technical aspect. It's about listening to the experience of all these remarkable ladies, the story of their life that actually really associate to me. I have read the book and it is really amazing. It is the story that you will listen after this, I believe, will be a source of inspirations and guidance that really can associate to all the challenges and struggles that we have. And I encourage that each and every one of you, probably if we have time, Kathy, that the audience also can associate and share what are the views and experience that they have in terms of progressing in regardless whatever career that you have, not only cyber, in terms of making sure that we can lead the life as professionals, as mother, as sister, as brother, and serve the community as a whole. And once again, I do not want to steal the thunder of all the co-writers. I extend my deepest gratitude to Microsoft Malaysia for the sponsorship, and I thank each and every one of you for being here today. I wish you all an enriching and enjoyable Women in Cyber Luncheon talk. Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together once again. Thank you, Mrs. Sharifah Rashida, for your welcome address. And I hope that has already started to ignite the fire of inspiration amidst all of us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to the authors sharing from the book, She Inspires Leaders. On April 26, 2022, 5 women had an idea to join forces in publishing a co-authored book showcasing stories of inspirational Muslim women. She Inspires Leaders is a book set out to empower women across the globe through 18 powerful and personal stories of leadership. Every unique story in this book captures a personal journey of overcoming hardship or facing fears to break through barriers and triumph in the face of adversity with courage, determination, and perseverance. Of the 18 authors located in various countries, we have today 6 co-authors here to share their stories. Joining us virtually from Australia, here are Dr. Yasmin Raja Abdul, Zeynep Bakan, Kathryn Jones, Saalihah Seedat, Hannah El-Gashingi, and Dr. Norzila Zakaria, who has made her way from Kelantan to join us here in person today. So allow me to hand over this time to Dr. Raja Yasmin to share and moderate the session with the co-authors of She Inspires Leaders.
Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum, Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you so much. Thank you to the MC. But first of all, I just want to acknowledge, the honorable guest, Sharifah Rashida, Syed Osman, the acting of Chief Executive of NACSA, Dr. Yasmin Bakan, and Miss Adila Junaid from Microsoft, beautiful MC, Kathy, distinguished guests, all the participants here today, and of course to my lovely co-authors who are here together with me. I don't know for what reason, while I'm saying this, I don't know, I just feel emotionally touched because this means so much. I mean, it's not just to me, but to every one of us here today. Anyway, I just have to say thank you so much to the CYDES 2023 organizer for approaching me and giving us all the opportunity today to become, to be the speaker for this most amazing, prestigious event. We feel humbly grateful and honored, that this event is actually recognizing our project, She Inspires Leaders, as the theme for the luncheon today. So, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Thank you again to everyone. Yeah, when I've been approached, by the organizer, like they were mentioning about NACSA CYDES 2023. So I read through all those details. I was like thinking like, where am I supposed to fit in? Then I was like listening to one of the posts by Rashida. She was like talking about all this NACSA cyber security, and she mentioned about people, process, and technology. And that is something I believe that really resonate, like we need to have the right people and to lead and to make things work. And I think, and I believe that this is what the journey for us here today, where I would love to share with everyone, like for us to achieve our goals and to achieve whatever things that you want to achieve in life, doesn't matter in terms of the project whatsoever. It's very important to be around with people who have that quality, to achieve that specific goals or direction. So for me, it's like I hope that this sharing here today, you can see the title, Women Leadership Quality, and I'm hoping that all the stories that we're going to share today would resonate with some of you guys, and probably might challenge the status quo of us trying to understand what is actually the meaning of leadership. So I remember John Maxwell mentioned in a very simple term what leadership actually means. And he said the ability to motivate and to encourage people to change and grow. And I just want to add on top of that, it's not just about the people around us, but we as a leader should be accountable as well, wanting to change and grow. So from there, I just want to start with a story how this project all began. So it was like very funny because when we started, we just like have a chat, just my mind macam tu, like we just want to write a book. So these ladies came to me and said, Dr. Raja Yasmin, can you just lead this project? And I was like wondering, hang on, I don't have any experience, I have zero knowledge. I've never had any experience, like publishing a book. I do have experience writing a thesis, but not co-authored book. So what's happening during that time? I make a decision. It's not based on facts or based on logical thinking. It's just based on from my heart. I just feel that something is right. Like sometimes you make a decision. Have you ever had the experience where you just feel it's right? You just feel that from the gut feeling, so I make a decision based from my heart because I always have desire that I wanted to help people. So starting from there, I was like working together with all these ladies, and we started to have a very small but clear intention in terms of what we want to do. So the intention is very simple, like we just wanted to write a book, that's it. But we have no idea where to begin, where to start, what to write, what we actually supposed to share. So for me as a leader, I don't have that answer. So when I work together with all these ladies, of course, I feel very uncomfortable myself. I said yes, but I have no idea and no clue at all in terms of the focus and direction. And then, sometimes you have this inner critic in you as well, like for me thinking like, oh my God, what if this project doesn't work? Like you're going to waste your time. I'm going to waste my time. I'm going to waste everyone's time. With that critical, the thinking in me, I'm aware with that. However, as I said, this thing drives this actually, it comes from my heart. I just want to do it. So I use this principle, say yes and work out how. So because of that principle, I just told all these ladies, let's just move on and see, because we have no idea where it's going to land. But the most important thing is we all is going to say yes. So we are aware in terms of the objectives and everything. So I was like telling the lady, don't overwhelm ourselves. The objective is just want to write a book. We write something first. So from there, we build up the structure and so on. So for me as a leader, I I'm always curious, because I know one thing, I have no clear direction in terms of bringing all these ladies together yet. But I always have this strong belief that any kind of problem, whether it's a small problem or a big problem, there's always a solution. You might not get the solution now, but probably in the future, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe next month, but the power of your mind that actually helps and drive you and give you that trust, keep going, Yasmin. So from there, that's one turning point when we were working together. I did approach, and I was being very proactive as well, asking some of the ladies, some of my friends, could you help us? When I saw Dr. Norzila, because she wrote so many books, I approached Dr. Norzila, can you just help us? So I was very proactive in asking around, trying to get what's the solution, what's the answer, give her some tips. So one big turning point that happened is when we started to write something and then we started to share the stories. The turning point is, sometimes you feel like you know your friends so well, but the moment when I read all those stories, it just melt and touched my heart. I was like, oh my God, sister, I have no idea, I have no clue that you actually went through all these difficulties. So starting from there, I begin to shift my focus. Initially, our thinking is all about me. I want to write something because majority of us, we are business owners. So we wanted to come up with something that can help us to market, our products or services. But now the turning point is that I was telling all these ladies, this is not just about us or me anymore. This is about them, because that story is our voice. It's our voice to share with all other women out there who might also went through their own challenges, hurdles, all those calamities. And we wanted to share our voice with all those ladies out there. It doesn't matter, in terms of your background, what role you are right now, in terms of a career and so on. But I just want this book to become a voice to all those ladies out there. No matter what you are going through right now, you got this. You have to believe in yourself, and it's not the time for you to give up and lose hope. So that's the reason why the idea of a book, She Inspires Leaders, a voice of hope and inspiration, come into this idea. And then how the She Inspires Leaders, the word on the cover comes into play as well. So because we don't have that much budget, so Alhamdulillah, I've got one of the ladies, her name is Fazila Adam. If you can look from the book, she's one of the editor as well. So myself and Fazila Adam was working together, read through all those 70,000 words for months, just to help each other so that we can reduce the cost in terms of the editing process. So while we are going through that manuscript and working together, I started to realize there's so many beautiful qualities coming out from those stories. When the ladies are sharing about all those challenges, the values of, the guiltiness, the self-blame, losing someone that is so dear to you, that grieving process, the feeling of sadness, frustration. And at the same time, they are sharing about all this, how they overcome those challenges. The beautiful values in there where they're sharing about courage, resilience, the faith of believing in Allah, that trust, the trust of the process, the confidence, humility, gratitude, that really sparks me. And that's where I was looking again and reading through all those books. I said, you know what? We are all here, just a normal human being. We went through all these challenges. We know how it feels like with all those feelings and emotions. So that's why I told all these ladies, look, when I read all those stories, we are all actually leaders in our own way. So that is where the idea of She Inspires Leaders comes in and become the book title of the book. So Alhamdulillah. So I do not want to waste more time because I wanted to give all the co-authors to have the opportunity to share their story. However, I just want to highlight the three things, how this project became a success. And Alhamdulillah, we managed to finish and complete this project in just 10 months. So one of it is, I always believe, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. So with this principle, you know, I'm actually is not the only one who lead this project. There's so many co-authors who came along and come together and paddle the boat together with me. There were times I rasa pancit, you know, I can't move anymore. You know, I got stuck. There will always be another lady who come on board and then start paddling and help me to paddle the boat together. So that is one thing that I've learned as a leader for this project. Secondly, I just want to share with everyone, you know, as a leader, you know, you have that vision, but there are so many leaders out there did not translate their vision to their team members. So what I did is, when I began to see more clearly the direction of this project, I paint the picture of this vision to all the co-authors. I show them the direction. This is where we're going to go in another 5 years' time. I allow all these co-authors to see, give them more clarity so they become more confidence, and they feel from their heart that, hey, this is what I want to do together with you. So I remember John Maxwell mentioned, you know, you have to touch people's heart before you ask for a hand. And I believe with the vision that I bring in together with all these co-authors really touch everyone's heart. And this is the reason why we all 18 co-authors, you know, believe that this is the direction that we want to go together. So I don't feel like I'm forcing everyone to complete this project. I don't feel that, because I'm sure that they are already been very clear, because I have, you know, that opportunity to touch everyone's hearts about this specific project. And the third one is about the values. I embrace the importance of the values in our culture when we are going through all this journey together. You know, the culture of unity, the culture of sisterhood, the bonding, you know, the communication, the trust, that confidence, you know, belief in the faith of Allah. You know, we have all those, you know, culture and values together in us. And I encourage all these ladies to keep on embracing all these values so that they understand that these are the values that we have to instill in our culture to allow us to move forward together. So I am going to end my speech today, and I hope what I'm sharing today, you know, would help and give some, you know, some idea or, you know, some inspiration to many of you guys today in this room. I just want to say something before I end. You know, like, every single one of us, we have our own story. Your story is actually the reason or how it's actually shaped who you are today, your story. So believe in that, embrace whatever stories that you have. If you are going through certain challenges, you know, you are actually now, even now, you might be like facing some difficulties and so on, or you might be defeated by some of those challenges. I know it's hard, it's tough. It's just a matter of you got to be more resilient in facing those challenges. If you can't face it alone, get some support and help. Let us all together help you and to support you, you know, in facing all those challenges, because you never know, the challenges that you are going through today might be another story for you. And that story could be a voice of hope and inspiration, probably for others. Yeah, so yeah, I end that my sharing with everyone today, and I would love to get all my other co-authors to share their stories. Are you ready, Kathryn? Do you want to start to begin with?
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yasmin, and beautiful sharing, Jazakallah khair. I especially love what you said about, you know, if you want to go fast, go by yourself, but if you want to go far, go together. And I think that the story I want to share today comes along with that line, alhamdulillah. So, assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to everybody. I'm really grateful to be able to be here and share with you. I'm the CEO and founder of the Back to the Fitra Mentoring Academy. I'm based in Adelaide, Australia, and I've been a Muslim since 1995, alhamdulillah. And my chapter in the book is entitled The Accidental Entrepreneur, because I didn't actually intend to be an entrepreneur. I was studying to be a classroom teacher and thought I might do some parenting classes along the way. And Allah had a very different plan for me. And my chapter talks about how following Allah's plan led me to be here and how I deviated from that plan many times along the way. And so now I have an academy that, alhamdulillah, we've connected with people over 70 countries, and I have certified mentors. Is my internet okay? Because it just said it's unstable. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, all good.
It's all good? Okay. Alhamdulillah. So I have certified mentors and coaches in the academy from across 17 different countries. So it's really grown from nothing to something big. But on August the 6th, 2021, so nearly 2 years ago, my super VA and I, who had been running this Back to the Fitra together for the 2 years, having this ongoing conversation where we never said hello or goodbye because it was just a constant non-stop conversation. On the Thursday, the 5th of August, she was not communicating much, and so I reached out to her, and she didn't sound very well, and she said her husband was saying she should go to the hospital. So I said, go to the hospital. Friday morning, I get a message from her cousin that she died of a heart attack overnight. And I suddenly went from running this huge academy with this amazing person to running it on my own. And I didn't even know how to do the elements of business that she did, the parts of the business she did. We didn't have SOPs in place to cover all of the work. We'd only just started thinking about that and doing SOPs, and that we needed to build the team. And I was left in this moment in grief because she'd become a dear, dear friend, not just somebody I worked with, but a dear friend. In this state of grief, with all these clients to attend to and this academy to run. And alhamdulillah, in that moment, everyone stepped forward to help. And in that moment, I had to go from being a solopreneur to being a CEO. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to be a CEO. And I've learned some really huge lessons along the way. It's nearly 2 years down the track, and we're still not functioning as smoothly as we functioned when it was just the two of us. She was that amazing. She's now replaced by 6 or 7 different people running different roles. That's how good she was, subhanAllah. And the lessons that I've learned have been, one is hire slowly and fire quickly. Because the people that came forward and wanted to help, they were people who were very close to Back to the Fitra, that's my academy. And they wanted to be a part of it, but they didn't have the skills. And I thought, that's okay, I can teach them. Their heart will be with it, we'll have this amazing team. But not everybody was suited to the roles, and I didn't want to sack anyone because they were close to me. So this was one of the big lessons I learned. But I think the biggest lesson of all, and the key theme, or the key thing I want to leave this story with, is having tawakkul, having trust in Allah. Because the key thing is, there's so many times that we nearly bottomed out and the whole academy nearly fell apart. But I always just had trust and faith that this was what I was meant to be doing. And every single time it worked out. And alhamdulillah, in about 2 months, we'll be running our conference again and reaching people across the globe and doing this amazing work. So always trust in the path that you're guided to and hang in there even through the difficult times. And I think that's the biggest lesson I would love to leave you with today. So Jazakallah khair for having me and giving me this opportunity to share with you today.
Oh, we can you unmute yourself, Zeynep?
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you, Sister Kathryn, as well, for sharing so many amazing points that are just so powerful. And thank you to everyone else for being here today and giving us the opportunity to share our journey and our story into leadership. So I feel really, really blessed that I can connect with you all and be in such a powerful space with so many different members of the community. So my name is Zeynep and I run a successful health and wellness doTERRA business, all whilst juggling 3 young children. My dream since I was a little kid was to help others. And I think at the time, obviously, I didn't realise what that entailed, but I truly understand that little girl's dream now. This feeling of wanting to help others led me to studying nursing, and I finished my postgraduate studies in emergency nursing. So my life consisted of resuscitations, trauma, triage, leadership, and different in charge roles. But what happened was I got to a point after I had kids that nursing no longer aligned with me. I didn't have the passion anymore. It wasn't joyful, and it just became a job. And so I reached that point where I had to say goodbye. I had to just leave everything and just resign. And I'm very grateful that I had my husband, who was basically my biggest supporter and encouraged me to take that step to follow my true passion. However, the decision obviously wasn't made lightly or without judgment and guilt from those that are close to me. But deep down, I also had that fear of failure, the comparison. But I was ready. I was ready for a new chapter. I was ready for a new life. And I wanted to be home. I wanted to be home with my kids over shift work. I wanted to have time freedom, and I wanted to be present in the most important times of their life. But I found that along the way of having 3 kids, I started to lose my identity. I started to just fall into the trap of the daily struggles of trying to balance responsibilities, sleep deprivation, exhaustion, and all of the things. So to make that transition from having no job to having a baby, a newborn baby, into business was something very foreign to me. And so my business venture started very slowly, but it grew faster than I could have imagined. And then I basically had all this personal and professional growth that came with it. However, one of the biggest challenges that occurred, and it occurred to every single one of us, is the global pandemic. And looking back, it was actually the best thing that happened to me. At the time, I didn't think that. Looking back, definitely. It taught me that through challenges that I can come through with resilience and strength, and that I can push myself outside of that comfort zone. And coincidentally, when you're in a state of vulnerability as a nurse, but also in business, it's very fluid within one another, because you need to have the qualities of adaptability. You need to be able to transform according to challenges and situations. And that adaptability for me was lockdowns. It meant that my new health and wellness business no longer existed. I couldn't run health workshops. I couldn't run consultations. I couldn't run classes. And so, like many business owners, I felt very deflated. I felt very broken. I felt stuck. And I thought I'd lost everything before I could even succeed. And so the turning point for me in that challenge was that I had to pivot my physical business model basically into building an online presence and a business via Instagram. And over the next 2 years of COVID, I was able to create a consistent valuable content. I was able to build a loyal community all through my phone. I was able to attract like-minded women who were going through similar struggles as myself, whether it was remote learning, whether it was babies or kids, whether it was mental health issues. And so I too was struggling, but despite that, I was able to have the courage to show up, to be authentic, to be seen and to be heard, all whilst embracing that uncertainty of the world. And more importantly for me, I was able to develop real deep and meaningful connections and a sisterhood that I didn't have. I personally actually felt very alone because I lacked a like-minded community. I craved a sense of belonging, and I really missed my old team and work environment that was full of leadership and teamwork. And so I made the decision that I need to stop comparing myself to the old me and then just to focus on building a strong community that I wanted so badly. And so by focusing on building a community, I focused on building a trustable online presence. I shared my daily life, my struggles, products that I use, online collaboration. And as a result, I was able to convert these into loyal customers and then simultaneously attract women from all walks of life that would partner with me in my business. And now I have women all over the world who have started their own businesses with me, who are now leaders in their own right, who work closely with me and have stepped up to be powerhouses. And so this journey of leadership in business, yes, it's been amazing and I've been blessed with such financial abundance, but it's just more than finances for me. It's about that empowerment. It's about supporting women. It's about being of service to one another. And there's so much hope and belief and inspiration and nurturing of relationships that have happened and that have been strengthened all from my phone. And so by focusing on, connection and collaboration and community, I was able to just align everything with that mission that I had that Dr. Yasmin talked about before, and our vision and our goals. And that I really, truly wanted to just ignite this fire in women to take control of their own health, but also their own lives. And I was then able to help them create their own community and become passionate to inspire change. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter what their job was or what their background was or what their university status was. It didn't matter. We were all the same. We just wanted to make change and become these empowered mums and women together. And I think we just need to be grateful that we can have these type of opportunities and just leave the judgment and the guilt and the fear alone and just work towards going forward. And if you have a dream or a passion that seems too scary or too big, or you're suffering in silence at the moment, just know that with hardship there is always ease, and that it doesn't matter how long it takes you to achieve that goal or how old you are. All that matters is that you say yes and you create your own story by following through with what your heart and what your passions are truly. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Zeynep. So who is it? Saalihah? Sister Saalihah? You're next.
Can you hear me okay? Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, and thank you again to the organizers for this amazing opportunity. I'm Saalihah Seedat, and I'm of Indian South African descent. I migrated to Australia from South Africa in 2002 and have called Brisbane home for the past 20 years. I have a super supportive husband who has been my greatest cheerleader in life, and we have 3 children, 2 adult girls who are pursuing their tertiary studies, and my son is finishing school this year, so I'm quite excited about that. New beginnings for me and new chapters for me too. The chapter I've shared in the book, She Inspires Leaders, is actually titled With a Leap of Faith. And I actually talk about my 20 years of life in Australia. In terms of what I do, so I'm a pharmacist by profession, and I actually work across 3 part-time roles. So as a consultant pharmacist, I visit patients at home and review their medications and then provide a clinical report to the GP. That's a federal government funded initiative in Australia. I also work as a clinical pharmacist at a private hospital over the weekends, and I'm a facilitator and health coach of the My Health for Life program, which is a local government funded program for health and lifestyle modification to prevent chronic disease such as diabetes, heart attack, and stroke. So the story I wanted to share with you today is centered around the theme of embracing uncertainty. 20th of March 2020 was a huge turning point in my life. I lost my beloved mom to her 9-year battle with lung cancer at the age of 73. I received a call from my aunt on that Friday afternoon saying that my mom had passed away. And my mom was a single parent who left no stone unturned. She was a retired school principal and an independent and strong woman, and she gave my sister and my younger sister and myself every opportunity to be the best versions of ourselves, working many multiple jobs to afford us the best university education. And she was also the eldest of 5 siblings and very well respected in the community and a role model, and her absence has been deeply felt. Coupled with this grief and loss was the global impact of COVID-19, and the very day my mom passed away was when the COVID-19 pandemic arrived in Australia. This was the most emotional ordeal I've ever endured, and I managed to get the last flight out of Australia that afternoon, that Friday afternoon, and was able to return back to my homeland to pay my last respects to my mom. However, when I arrived in South Africa that Saturday, all returning flights to Australia and pretty much the rest of the world were cancelled. So there was no way of returning home, and very uncertain, a waiting game, and it was a day-to-day, pretty much, yeah, we just had to wait every day to see what would unfold the next day. So I remained in South Africa in lockdown, and it pretty much the whole world succumbed to this viral pandemic around that time. So that would have been around the end of March 2020. So anyway, I played this waiting game for a repat flight, and finally I got a flight back to Australia from South Africa via London with the Canadians, and it took me 5 days. I started that journey on Good Friday, and I eventually returned to Australia on the Tuesday after Easter. And that time in lockdown, I actually call it a gift from the Almighty, because I actually got to spend 4 weeks with my maternal grandmother, just her and me in lockdown. And she has since passed away, but that historic time in our lives will be etched in my memory forever. And during this lockdown in South Africa, I actually used it as an opportunity to give back to my country of birth. So I actually created a series of COVID-19 health and wellbeing webinars and hosted these online across South Africa and the neighboring African countries. And on returning to Australia, it was end of April, beginning of May, I had to do 2 weeks of hotel quarantine then. I once again delivered these health and wellbeing series online nationwide in Australia because it was relevant to everyone all over the world. My work routine had also evolved since I returned, as I was unable to visit patients at home, in their homes, and I had to cancel my face-to-face My Health for Life workshops. And like many other people, I had to pivot my business and transitioned with telehealth consults, which became a norm, and also started delivering the My Health for Life workshops online via Zoom. And as time passed over those 2 years of the pandemic, work from home was nothing unusual. Most people were doing it. And that, along with that came social isolation, as many of us know also. So instead of just having that extra time, and knowing as women we never have extra time, but in the time that I worked from home, I found myself with this extra pockets of time. I actually used it to further my studies and completed an online postgrad in clinical pharmacy aged care with Monash University. And that was huge. It was pushing myself out of my comfort zone and going back to study after 20 years. And previously having studied in the traditional way and now having to study in an online mode was huge shock to my system. Now that I reflect on the past 2 to 3 years that has been, definitely has been a true test of resilience. If anything, I have evolved with change, grown in personality and character. And often we look at uncertainty as a threat and with fear. However, I think I embraced the uncertainty and created opportunities along the way. And I challenge you to do the same. If ever you encounter uncertainty on your life's journey as well, you never know where it could take you. And in the spirit of inspiration, I'd like to leave you with this. Continue to be inspired by your own story as well as others. Inspiration isn't always out there, but it sure is within your heart. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Sister Saalihah. Now let's go with Hannah.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I have the hard job of going after 4 amazing speakers, and it's always a bit of a struggle to go after 4 amazing speakers. It's the best to go first, right? Because you've got no one else that is so amazing before you. So I just want to acknowledge my incredible co-authors for their beautiful talks, and I hope you're just as touched as I am. I've heard them speak about their stories, and no matter how many times I hear them speak about their stories, I'm always so touched. And I also have the hard job of not actually seeing your faces. I usually love to see the audience faces and connecting with you. So forgive me if it feels a little bit disjointed if I can't see you, and I pray that you can take some inspiration out of this. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسرني أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My name is Hannah. I'm a former teacher. I was a teacher for 6 years in Australia. I loved my job, was really great at my job, and I have this belief that teenagers are amazing, and so I really thrived as a teacher. In 2018, something really unexpected happened in my life where, and I speak about this in the book, my whole chapter in my book is dedicated to this whole journey, but I'll give you just a small snippet in hopes that you can take some inspiration and that you can resonate with it. In the end of 2018, my beloved mum, and let me just tell you a little bit about who my mum was to me. She was that person that I wanted to become. All of her beautiful qualities, I wanted to emulate. I wanted to be the mini version of my mum. Because she had such a beautiful impact, she would just go out into the world and spread her light and her kindness and her love. And as a result of that, she was just a magnet of goodness to all those around her. And so she was my best friend. I know that sounds so like cheesy, but really she was that person that we went through so many hardships in our life together, and she was a pillar of support for me. And so in 2018, there was one night, and I talk about this whole journey again a little bit in way more detail in the book. 2018, in one night, I said to my mum, "Good night, mum. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow." And I kissed her goodnight and I hugged her, and I walked out not knowing that that would be the last conversation I ever have with my beloved mum. 12 hours later, we get a call from Westmead Hospital that we need to, Westmead Hospital is one of the largest hospitals in Sydney, that we need to come immediately because my mum had a stroke, and that they just told us to come immediately. Later on, we find out, we got sat down, we were with the neurosurgeon telling us that my mum's incompatible with life, that she's gonna die and that there's nothing they can do about it. And that feeling of being crushed, that feeling of being angry, just surfaced within me. I actually was like, I said to the doctor, "What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. You're just being a pessimist. What do you mean?" She's like, "My mum's going to wake up. She's going to be okay. You're going to do whatever you can for her." But the reality is that she never woke up, and that 2 days later, she passed away without me ever having a final conversation with her, without me ever saying goodbye to her. And that's really what I really wanted. I kept saying, "Just open your eyes one more time, just so I can talk to you." And she never did. And in that, there was a blessing. In this whole journey was a blessing. I went through the next couple of years of my life feeling so lost, feeling like, what do I do now? Like, I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Yes, I'm an educator, but I don't know what to do. How do I go on in my life now? I felt like everything had shattered and crumbled. And so I went on this whole journey of grief, where I realized that grief isn't just a straight line. You know how people say, "Oh, like, I hope you get it," like, not that they say that, but like they want you to get over grief. They want you to just see you happy and not sad. I thought that grief was going to be a linear, like, straight line. But what I discovered is that grief is this, it looks like a squiggly line that you go through highs and lows. And so through those highs and lows, I discovered this whole new potential for my life. I realized, wow, actually, I can transform one of my darkest moments, the thing that brought me so much pain, and I can transform it into something that brings so much light for people. And I realized that within grief, there's a gift. And so this is why I truly believe that losing my mum was one of the best things that has ever happened to me. It was the hardest thing that's ever happened to me, but also one of the best things that have ever happened to me. And so I ask you to ask yourself within your story, where have you lost? And I don't mean lost as in like you sucked. I mean like, where have you lost either a person, a job, finances, wherever we are in this nature as a human being to be at loss. We're gonna lose those that are closest to us. We're gonna lose a job, maybe perhaps it's a relationship, finances, whatever it is. And so once we transform our relationship with loss, then we can really thrive. And so I ask you ladies to go back into your life and see where you can draw on inspiration, because as these beautiful co-authors have said before me so eloquently and so much better than I did, that in your story is inspiration. In your hardest moments, you can actually thrive. And so that's what I decided to do. I took the hardest moment of my life and I decided to leave teaching and do something greater, because I knew I've always known that I can touch the world and change the world. And so I'm like, it's time that I do something greater than that. And so what I did was I developed my own business. I went ahead and studied coaching, and I decided to open my own coaching business in honor and legacy of my mum. Everything that I do in this business is in her name, in hopes that when she comes on the day of judgment, she sees all of these good deeds on her behalf. And that's my gift to repay her for all of the amazing things that she's done for me, and that how she's raised me. And so, ladies, you can turn your hardest, darkest moment into something that brings something so much light in the world. I pray that you can take some inspiration from this. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really humbled to have you ladies with me. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam. Such a beautiful sharing, Sister Hannah. Thank you. So now we pass to our last co-authors, Dr. Norzila. So Dr. Norzila is there physically. Lucky her.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allah, I'm so glad that I am finally here. So on behalf of 1, 2, 3, 4, now I am in big trouble because all the stories are very interesting, and then I have a problem to tell you what is my story. Right. Okay, let me introduce myself. Okay, I'm Norzila Zakaria. I am a psychiatrist. Have you been in to see any psychiatrists in Malaysia? Not yet. Okay, please don't. All right. Okay, I'm working in Hospital University Science Malaysia. All right, and I am also in the book. I also call myself as educational psychiatrist, which you couldn't find this term in Google. If you find one, the explanation about clinical psychologist. So this term is coined by myself because my passion to fill the gap between the education and mental health. Okay, I am already 18 years in the child and adolescent unit in Hospital USM, and most of my clients definitely are children below 18 years old. So they come with a developmental delay, they come with emotional issues like anxiety, depression, and also learning difficulties. All right. So what I see is actually most of them come to me, whether you want or not, parents will come. Doctor, my child refused to go to school. Doctor, teachers says that my child is disruptive in classroom. And when I reflect myself, all right, this also happened to me. Children feel very upset going to school because they feel low self-esteem, they feel being neglected, they feel all sort of emotion. Okay, let me tell you my story. So I don't want my kids to have the same feeling as what I have experienced. Okay, I myself also have some learning difficulty. And if you monitor my speech today, you will find I'm struggling to find proper words, okay? And you will see sometimes my points disjointed. Okay. When I was small, when I was in year 1, I was slapped for not being able to copy number 4. And I can still feel the feeling, the warmth of my teacher's hand on my cheek. Why am I still remember that? Because it is too emotionally affected me. And I feel I'm so stupid. I'm not trying enough. And during that time, I was 5 years old, and I never go to kindergarten. Why teachers slap me? Did I do something wrong? I'm not. So, Alhamdulillah, previously school is not like nowadays, right? You just match here and there. So you feel I got penilaian darjah 5 is what, 5 years, and then I go to boarding school, and then I go matriculation, I go to university, and Alhamdulillah, I graduated as medical doctor from UKM. Anybody alumni UKM here? Okay, I'm from UKM, all right? Okay, UKM. And then, whether you believe or not, all these successful things that you saw is actually a lot of struggle inside there. Okay, what are my problems? I have learning problem, which means when I read, I will be very slow. I'm humming. My name is Dr. Norzila. Something like that. Okay? And then I have a listening problem. When you speak to me, if I don't really focus, I couldn't get what you say. That's why I couldn't grab anything when people sing. I have this problem. And also, I have very short-term memory. I couldn't understand comprehension. I mean, if there's an essay, I couldn't make a summary. So when I was in secondary school, English and Bahasa is actually a big struggle for me because I have to make summary and sometimes to write essay. Oh, mashallah. Really like to cry. But I have to pretend. When people say, okay, we have to read this, you have to read this journal, like now, what is the current situation? You have to read journal. I was struggling to understand the first paragraph. My friend is already at the third page. And then what made me more embarrassed when she or he asked me, hey, what do you find this? Then I have to pretend agree or disagree. But at the same time, actually, I don't understand. That is my struggle. So, can you imagine how I feel? I feel bad, I feel stupid. I feel actually I'm not supposed to be here. But, whether you believe or not, I pursue my study in PhD. And I went to Monash University in Australia, where I met Dr. Yasmin. Okay, she was my sister in Australia, right? So we met that. So now, you know what is the problem I want to share with you. I have never said that I have learning problem before. But until this journey, the journey to become educational psychiatrist, you know, I started my PhD in 2009. But in 2009, I started my PhD. Now is 2023. What do you think about my thesis? It is not yet ready to be examined. What my supervisor says that your writing is not up to the PhD level. How do you feel? I tried everything. All softwares, you ask, all softwares I know. All struggle, I have taken unpaid leave for 10 months. I've used all money. All my tabung ayam semua dah tak ada. Buat personal coaching, writing. But the final, the best thesis that I have prepared, when I submit to my supervisor, your thesis still need to be corrected. I have no more tears to cry. But then only, this is actually where Allah tells me, Norzila, look at yourself. What happened to you? Then only I see, I need to know what is my problem. Then it comes, I'm looking for shortcut for how to understand myself. And then I come to a new technology, if you have heard, it's dermatographic. Dermatographic is studying about your fingerprints to know about your brain function, your capacity, your style of learning, whether you visual or you auditory or whether you kinesthetic, and you also know about your acquiring method, whether you are reflective, affective, or you self-cognitive. And apparently I know, I am a person who kinesthetic learning. I cannot absorb whatever that people tell me and then I can understand 100%. That's why when teachers are lecturing, I cannot focus. I cannot grab what is the concept. Then I know I need to be taught one by one. Then that is the best way of how I'm learning. So can you imagine what happened to our kids now? Now I want to bring this matter. Can you imagine what happened to you? Have you any problem? Have some problem like me? What happened to our kids who is actually kinesthetic learners or visual learners, but they are forced to listen here, listen what I'm telling you. Why don't you focus? And still you cannot understand, and we are called as not focusing it, not good enough, not trying enough. Emotionally, they will feel very sad. So this is what I want to highlight. Okay, I want to treat everyone as a very special person, because our fingerprint never change. And Allah created us, no one has similar fingerprints, correct? So this is our blueprint. So this is actually the importance of personalized learning. So what I want to highlight here is actually, please treat everybody, respect everybody with their style. So I hope that later, this is my passion. I want to introduce where everybody have different style of personalized learning, so we can polish their potential. This potential can be seen in the shortcut of the dermatography, so that we can know, okay, your first son is visual learners, your second son is kinesthetic learners, and the teachers also understand, so they don't mind if children are playing at the back or they are jumping, because they know that is the style of learning. So please, I hope that I will get support from you all. And previously, I don't have a company, but my business is actually helping children to happily going to school, as well as the teachers and parents happy to send their kids to school and polish their potential, highlight their abilities, and to be very positive. I should be, there is no more terminology like learning problem. It is always learning abilities or multiple abilities, yeah, different variety of learning, all right? So that is my sharing. So I hope that one day the term educational psychiatrist will become a reality. And in fact, the terminal of educational psychiatrist is only correct for the Show Me EduWave school, private and kindergarten, where I am appointed as their advisor. So in hospital university, they call me Dr. Norzila as psychiatrist. All right, so thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Can I put it?
Thank you so much for all the wonderful speakers, Dr. Raja Yasmin, Zeynep Bakan, Kathryn Jones, Saalihah Seedat, Hannah El-Gashingi, and Dr. Norzila Zakaria. Your stories truly are so captivating and so enriching. I think the biggest points that I took away was the ability to overcome limiting beliefs and self-doubt, to move into a place of action, and to translate your vision to inspire others. The statement that I hold is, passion is energy. Combined passion is a powerful force. And I truly admire the softness and the strength that roared through each of your voices and your stories, and encouraged us that your unique purpose is a gift to the world that is sometimes wrapped in your struggles, grief, challenges, and of course our successes. So once again, can we put our hands together to thank all of our wonderful speakers here. Ladies and gentlemen, it has now come to the time where we have a casual conversation. This session will be moderated by Ms. Adila Junid, Director of Legal and Government Affairs at Microsoft Malaysia. Ms. Adila is joined by panelists to discuss further on women leadership qualities. The panelists joining Ms. Adila are Dr. Yasmin Begum, Regional Director, Legal and Government Affairs at Microsoft Asia Pacific, and Dr. Norzila Zakaria, Educational Psychiatrist at Hospital University Science Malaysia. We also invite our co-authors, Raja Yasmin, and our panel of speakers to join in the conversation, as well as each one of you, our guests here today. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Ms. Adila.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Good afternoon, everybody. Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much for joining us here. And it's such an honor and pleasure for me to be here today in such esteemed company with a bunch of women with such a rich and varied background and experiences. And I really, really hope that everybody can really feel inspired, empowered, and re-energized after this. So it was really wonderful to hear from everybody about their experiences. And I'm wondering if I could invite Dr. Yasmin, who is the Corporate and External Legal Affairs Regional Director for Microsoft Asia Pacific. So Dr. Yasmin is really a champion in many areas of things like sustainable and inclusive development and resilience. So Dr. Yasmin, I'm wondering, could you share a little bit perhaps about what you think the role that women could play in driving these things, how they can lead in this area? Thank you.
Thank you, Adila. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Let me start by thanking NACSA and the CYDES organizers for inviting us to be part of this conversation. It is such a critical conversation for us to have, and we are truly honored to be part of this discussion. I hope you can hear me now. The conversation today, the takeaway that I had just listening to all of these women who are so inspiring is that that passion and resilience. And just listening to these women, let me share about some of the work that we do in driving awareness, whether it is cyber resilience, creating economic empowerment, providing skilling for women. But the biggest learning I have had just doing this work for the last 15 years or doing development work in the last 30 years, that as a community, women hoist each other up. We can help women to rise up, and that is such an important part of what we do. And in doing that, I've seen women in Aceh suffering from tsunami and the rehabilitation work there, or rebuilding schools in Afghanistan, or even providing education for women in the separatist war-torn Kashmir. In every part of this, what I've learned is, as a community, as women, we can come together to drive and to lean on each other for resilience. You don't have to do everything by yourself. And the strength that comes with this is why it is important for us to be able to rely on each other. And I think that the idea behind the book actually speaks to that. As a community, how we build leadership, how we drive that opportunity. You don't need to be in a seat of power to be a leader. Power is actually in the humility and the kindness that you extend. And this learning that I've had in the last 14 years in Microsoft, or just 30 years in my career, women and men who have helped me rise to the different positions I've had. So I always think about three things that I talk to women mostly: skilling, reskilling, upskilling, and cross-skilling. This is such a critical part. And today we are at CYDES. The role of women in cybersecurity should not be, set aside. We in Microsoft committed to skill up 1 million Malaysians, and we provide that opportunity. And I do hope you seize this opportunity to be skilled up, whether in AI fluency, cybersecurity. It is so critical for us to do that. The second point is, if we demonstrate that willingness, the growth mindset to learn, and continuously willing to be that serial learner, we will also be leading by example and role modeling to our teams, to our children, and to the people around us. And I think that is such an important message that I would like to leave with you. And third point is this diversity and inclusion. It cannot be lip service. It is so critical for us to actually showcase that. There are many instances where we are told, oh, that person doesn't have enough experience because that person she is too young. And I think we need to break the mold around some of these stereotypes. And as women, I think we have to role model some of these stands that we take and champion them and show so that the next generation, younger women, are able to have that entry and able to also seize the opportunity. Adila, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jasmine. And I think really, I hope everybody is able to take advantage of the opportunity that we have with all these fantastic leaders and women with such rich, deep experience here, to ask any questions you might have for them, whether it's in terms of advice or a situation that you think they could help with. Please do raise your hands and ask the questions. And you can start now, and while you start thinking of the questions you might want to ask, perhaps then I'll take advantage of this opportunity and pose a question to everybody here. And please feel free, as well as Dr. Raja and your co-authors, as well as Dr. Norzila and Dr. Jasmine. So my question really is, I think you're all leaders in areas that are very unique. So healthcare, technology, educational, medical services, business. What have you seen as some of the key challenges as a woman in this area, and what would be your top advice for any aspiring leaders or women in these areas that are currently struggling with some challenges that you yourself might have experienced? And if maybe if anyone is on the web at the Zoom call that would like to answer as well, please do put up your hand, perhaps. Thank you, Dr. Raja. Yes, please just share.
I'm happy to answer that. Thank you so much, Adila. It's a very good question. I mean, like when you're mentioning about challenges and everything, so I've been going through, managing my business and at the same time managing multiple projects. And I was elected as the president of Malay community, Malay MCOV, Malay Council of Victoria here as well. So I just want to share with you guys the 2 points which I believe it can be quite a challenge even until now. Number one is that decision making. It's sometimes can be quite tough, in terms of making a decision, especially when you are in a situation where you are not certain yourself. So that's one thing that I've learned from my mentor, because initially in the past, whenever I wanted to make a decision, I'm the only daughter in the family. I'm so used to get this approval from the superior. Whenever I wanted to make certain decisions and so on, I always go back, ask my parents, ask my husband. It's just too scary to make my own decision. So for me, one of the aspects which I think is quite challenging, especially for women, because sometimes we women, we kind of like thinking, when we make a decision, the question is, what if? What if I fail? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I make that wrong decision and people will judge me? And then all of a sudden, with all those thinking in mind, we women sometimes, this is based on my coaching experience, coaching thousands of women across the globe. We women, it's so easy to beat ourselves up. Whenever we be defeated or going through the challenges, it's too easy for us, to see in a way that we kind of like putting ourselves down and make us feel very small. And I'm speaking based on my experience. Because as a leader, it's not necessary. I'm not just talking about leader. As an individual, there's no such things as where you will always make a perfect, good, excellent decision. There will be time where you will make a wrong decision as well. But for us, for us to decide whether to make a decision or not to make a decision is actually our choice. For me, I keep on believing, no matter what, for me to grow, if I don't make that decision, I have no idea what's going to happen, because many people are so afraid to make the decision, and what happened is we just got stuck. Instead, I always use this principle, say yes and work out how. Just experience it and just accepting whatever the outcome it is. So secondly, I just want to share also in terms of the values. Sometimes we work as a leader, we have all this vision and mission, but I always emphasize and always be aware with myself when we talk about values, because for me, I believe when you're wanting to work together to achieve certain direction and goal, you have to be in the environment where all the people have the almost similar values to you. It's very hard when your values clash in the team. So that's where when I work together with my team, I have this open communication, or sometimes I just be aware or have a discussion, with all the people who are actually working together with me, so I would be able to understand better. No doubt that every individual, we have our own values, and the values depends in terms of our priority, isn't it? But however, when it comes to certain, to achieve something or to achieve certain goals, for instance, like She Inspires Leaders, as I mentioned just now, it's very, very crucial, to have everyone together and to understand. Meaning, when I say understand, we got to communicate, share, language it out. So when I mention about language it out, means like I list on the paper and let everyone see this is our values, the unity, sisterhood bonding, that courage, resilience, and many more. So I guess another challenge, as I mentioned just now, what if there are the people in our team who are actually totally the opposite values than you? To tell you the truth, it can be quite challenging. You can't change people's values, but how are you going to communicate in a way that people can see the direction or be able to balance up in terms of their values so that we can go and achieve the direction or the goals that we want to achieve together? Yeah, that's just my takeaway that I would love to share with everyone today.
Thank you, Dr. Raja. That's wonderful. Does anybody else like to contribute to the...
If I may build on what Dr. Raja said, I think she made a good point regarding that validation that we need. As women, we tend to seek that validation, that tentativeness that we seem to sometimes be faced with. And I want to say it's a bit of a societal, and it's a bit of culture, and we tend to say, we grow up wanting to have our validation of our parents, especially women, right? You don't bulldoze through. But as we get into the professional arena or business or corporate arena, and when we do not get that validation, it becomes, you start to question yourself. So, and this is where I really believe that two things that I have seen and I've learned working with young women in Afghanistan, where they were told that they cannot study and yet they want to go to school, that, wanting to get that validation from the Taliban community, but yet fearing for the life to be able to come for school, right? So my takeaway is that commitment to progress. You are faced with so many hurdles, and one of that hurdle is that mental state of validation and overcoming that. And you can't overcome that validation process overnight. It just doesn't happen that tomorrow morning I wake up and say, I don't need that validation. But, that dependency to validation can be reduced. And I've seen that working with, whether it's the women in Aceh or just seeing amongst women, young women today. And that, I think, is an important point for us to reflect on as women who are becoming leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jasmine.
Can I add?
Yes, please. Thank you, Dr. Norzila.
Okay, when Dr. Jasmine says about validation and so on, then the psychiatrist's brain start. All right, okay. I mean, like, everybody need validation. Emotionally, they need validation, right? So I just want to talk about, have you heard about happy hormone? Happy hormone, have you heard about that? All right. Happy hormone, generally we have 4 hormones, yeah? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and DYSE, endorphin, mashallah, forgot already, alright? So this happy hormone, actually Allah make human beings very, very complex, and it is actually all about reward. If you see, dopamine is based on reward. So if you do something good and then you feel a reward there, even though it is actually just a praise, that will cause your dopamine to level up. That is what actually validation as well. Okay, the second one is oxytocin. Very good, Jasmine, you have done something good, husband pat you. That is actually love hormone. Yeah, so it is actually feel good. And then the third one, serotonin, when you feel happy. Yeah? But serotonin cannot be produced in the brain, but actually need food. We have food specialists, nutritionists here. So you can take nuts, bananas and so on. So it will can produce, what do you call? Produce, looking forwards. Produce serotonin. And then the last one is endorphin. Endorphin is by physical exercise. So actually, if you see this form, our life is complete with good food, recognition, and then exercise and love. Correct? So this applies to everybody. Whether you are women or you are men, we need this for happy hormone, inshallah. Contribution from a psychiatrist. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Norzila. That's, I think, more than decades of study distilled into 1 minute. So what a privilege it is for us all to have that. And thank you so much. I think that was a very interesting observation. I think women do tend to want everybody to be happy. We tend to want to be in a state where everybody's getting along, we're all allies and working together. So that actually really brings me to something very interesting that I think it was Kathryn mentioned, that hire slow and fire quickly. That was very interesting. So I do think that is an area that perhaps could be a challenge for many of us, because at the end of the day, there are situations where not everybody gets along, or perhaps your values are not aligned. Would anyone here have any advice for those of us in those situations where you have a challenging situation where you might need to do something that might make someone unhappy, but at the end of the day, it has to be done? Do you have any advice for us?
Sister Kathryn.
Sister Kathryn, probably you wanted to give it a go with the question, since you have the experience.
It's not a very comfortable experience. What happened in the end, actually, with some of the people that I had to let go, was that they ended up deciding to go themselves because they realized that they were letting the team down. So I didn't end up having to do that, which was very helpful for me because I was really not wanting to have to fire anybody. But the lesson I learned was, from now moving forward, is to hire slow, as in really do my due diligence, set things up in a way where there can be a way out easily if we can see early on that this isn't going to work, and it doesn't have to be anything personal or upsetting. So for instance, set up a trial period or a trial task or something to work on together, to get a feel for the fact whether you work well together before there's any kind of permanent decision made. And that's the way I'm doing things moving forward. And so the latest person that I've taken on, we did an initial month as a trial, and she's amazing. And so there's no issue there. We'll definitely be continuing together. So that's, I guess, the best advice is make it easy on yourself so you don't have to be brave by actually setting it up from the beginning, that there's that trial, that opportunity to test out whether it's a good fit before making any kind of permanent arrangement.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. And I do realize we're almost at time, but again, I feel so blessed to be in this company. I wonder if I could squeeze in one last question. So, for example, we've heard that that need for everyone to be aligned, to share the same values, that's strong within us. And instead of seeing that as something that could be a challenge, I do think that that is an advantage. So perhaps as a last round, what do you think are some of the values that might be more natural, inherent in us as women, that could be advantages to us as leaders?
Thanks, Adila. I think that that's an amazing question, to see that common value that we all have. I think by nature we tend to be more inclusive, and we tend to be, sort of bring in allies and drive that communal feeling, that we have a strong sense of community, and we want to drive that sort of the communal or consultative approach. I think that is strong. You can have difference of opinion, you can have different perspectives, and diversity in perspective is such a strong value that we actually find it to be important. But that communal power, being able to influence and be that super influencers to bring together community, is something we need to harness. And I think that is very important. Thank you.
I also feel we've such a privilege to have Dr. Norzila here. Is there anything you'd like to add? Maybe in your experience, are there some qualities that you find yourself holding that have been a great advantage, and there might be some quality that's in you as a woman?
You mean what quality that I can share, right? One of the things that I really appreciate throughout my journey is actually what we call growth mindset. Have you heard about growth mindset? All right. So growth mindset, if actually it is translated into, for Muslim, we call it, I change all challenges as best, what do you call it? Opportunity, yes. So whatever, what you see failures, or you see you couldn't be able to do it, it is actually the first step for a better one. So I'm actually writing a book with the topic is Berdamai dengan Stress. Inshallah we'll soon launch by the University of Science Malaysia. But this is actually one of the things, is actually the point for you to change what perceive as challenges or what perceive as stress as rahmat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so when you see Allah has a better plan, the best plan, whatever that you are experiencing right now, it is a very painful thing, but inshallah in future you will see this is a very sweet things to remember. So that make ourselves feel happy for whatever happened, and inshallah we see everything as opportunity. Right, thank you.
And before I end, is there any question from the audience?
I'd like to jump in and announce that for the first 3 people who ask a question, there is a complimentary copy of She Inspires Leaders right there for you. So I'm holding the mic here, so if anyone would like to ask a question, just please flag me down. I will walk over to you and we can get your question to the panel. Okay.
Can get mine signed after this.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Aida from Naksa. I just have one question about when Dr. Yasmin mentioned about sharing the common values. We have to share the same values in order to achieve something, especially it's whether in a group or in a family, you have to share the same values. The thing that I want to ask is actually, how do you want to share the same values, especially when you mentioned about when the values clash, and to share the values we need communication. So what is the best communication way to solve that issue when you have clash values? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aida. The question is referring to, so I'm happy to answer this question. All right, can you guys hear me from here? All good? Just this? Okay. All right, so yeah, it's a very good question, because this is what I've been experiencing, you know, like even though like running this project, people can see from far, wow, she inspires leaders, wow, all those 18 authors coming together and working together. But believe me, throughout my journey, you know, like having to build this project together, of course, I already expected there are some ladies or co-authors out there, they have different expectation and they have different values as well. So number one is, as what I'm mentioning, you know, I always language it in a way that when we have meeting, you know, when we are, you know, doing the meetup and so on, so we communicate, you know, those values a lot more, so that the ladies are aware, you know, in terms of what is actually the culture that she inspires leaders is trying to bring in. But I totally agree with Ida when she said that what happened when there's a clash of values. You know, again, it goes back to the individual values. For me, it's not like that person is something wrong with that person. What's wrong with you? How come you're not similar to my values? It's not. We have to learn to respect other people's values, because values is something that it built in. It's something which is so dear, it's so close to you. You can't just simply ask people to change their values, you know, but it depends on the individual again. If their values clash with us, you know, respect is one thing, but for us also, like for me, my experience, I set the boundaries. You know, I set the boundaries. Let's say, for instance, like my values is all about teamwork. You know, we fight together. You know, we have to go through all these difficulties together, and we success together. So that is my values. But there are some ladies, their values is much more self-centered. You know, like some of the people, they might be like thinking, what's in it for me? You know, so I just want to have, this is my values. It's all about me, me, me. And for me, it's like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that you have to set their boundaries, have to start thinking about it again in a way that, is it necessary that you have to force everyone, you know, even though it's out from their values, to always be together with you? It's not, because it will be very tiring sometimes, you know, to have someone to work together with you and have totally the opposite values. So for me, normally I have a conversation, an open conversation with that specific person. Is that what you really want to do? So if this is what you don't believe, it's all good. You know, but I have to set my boundaries in a way that in order for us to achieve this direction, I will not compromise that values, because I believe that values, we can go far together. But if you do not want to be on the right, on the bandwagon together with me, it's all good. So these are the things that I just want to share, because we women, I just spoke to my friend, I don't know whether Raja Azrina is here or not. So we talk about, you know, leadership and everything today, yesterday, you know, like, it's just like, accept the fact that there are people who doesn't follow and wanting to follow your values, and it's all good. So instead of judging people, instead of questioning why you are not similar to me, you know, what's the point? Because it's very hard for you to move forward if you got stuck. You know, keep on thinking about those, you know, the opposite, or those challenges that is actually happening. Yeah. Yeah, Kathryn, go for it.
Thank you, Dr. Jasmine.
Can I add something?
Please do.
So one of the things I think is really important to manage values is to outline at the beginning of a project, or for an organisation to have organisational level values or project level values, that the expectation is that everybody respects and meets those values, even if personal values are different. And this can be a way where there can be a meeting of meeting together, even if personal values are different. So that is just one of the ways that I've noticed it can be more successful, is to set what are the values or the expectations of a project or an organisation, and they become the common values, even if individual ones are different.
Thank you for answering those questions. I'd like to check if there's any other questions in the room. All right. My colleague will pass the mic over to you.
Hello, hi everyone. Assalamualaikum. My name is Suri from MITEC Padu. So I am only 5 years in this industry, especially in cybersecurity. So I feel very positive vibes in this hall with all the inspiring sharing from all the speakers, especially. And from what key takeaway that I have that really touched my heart is that vulnerability is not something for you to be embarrassed with, but to seek help within the community itself. So I feel in Malaysia, if we have a platform for, especially for women in cybersecurity, that I might need to seek a validation, especially or advices, that would be interesting if I may know there's a platform that we can reach out. Yeah, that would be a good idea. And that's all from me. Thank you.
I think Dr. Jasmine has an answer for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Adila. Thank you for your interest in cybersecurity. I think women have such a huge role to play in cybersecurity, especially in ensuring that people, children are protected. And we do see the recruitment for extremist activities happens at home, and parents are not aware. So to answer your question, Microsoft does quite a bit of work around cybersecurity and cybersecurity, skilling of women in cybersecurity, and if there's any way we could bring together, we recently hosted Women in Cybersecurity panel, and if there's any way we could, bring you on for these discussions and build this community with the industry, we are happy to do so. Both Adila and I are here, and I think we have Celeste at the back, our PR person, so happy to talk to you and provide our contact. But definitely, this has to be a community effort. Cybersecurity is not one company or the role of NACSA or Cybersecurity Malaysia or the ministry, but it has to be an effort, both the regulator and the people and citizens. So thank you very much.
I just want to
Can I
add.
just add something, please, if that's okay? Thank you so much for your beautiful comment, by the way. I just noticed you said something, and I just wanted to just celebrate you on that. You said, I've only been 5 years in this field. And the word only caught my attention. Instead of saying only, let's say I've been in this field for 5 years and celebrate that. Often as women, I find that when we come to introduce ourselves, we sort of put ourselves down in our introduction. I'm only this, I'm only this. When in fact, we do so much contributions. And I don't know you personally, I don't know exactly what your role is, but I can just imagine how much you contribute to your experience in your field. So I just want you to celebrate that instead of saying the word only. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Was there one more response?
No, I was about to add to that, and cybersecurity is actually very critical for the country, not just for our safety and security, but also as an industry. So there's a lot of demand for cybersecurity. So just think about what's just been said here. You're actually contributing to the national safety and to the economy. So.
Thank you, Dr. Jasmine, Hannah, and Adila for sharing and answering that question. I've got one more question here at the back of the room.
Thank you very much. I'd really like to thank the organizers of this forum. It's been really heartwarming and very informative, and a summary of a lot I could have learned in a long time has been learned today. So I want to thank everyone for that. Many times people say that women are emotional leaders, more of emotional leaders than logical leaders. I don't know what any of your experience with this is, and how if it's true, and if it's true, how have you overcome it? Thank you so much.
If there are no takers, I see Dr. Jasmine is ready to go.
Thank you for the question. And if we were emotional leaders, and I want to debunk that, very strongly, as a person who have been in war zone and doing development work, there were instances women were sent in to do negotiations with separatist and rebel groups because we were not emotional. We were most consultative and empathetic in our approach. And being emotional is being human. And if you are not human, then you can't be a leader, and that bothers me, right? And I say this, having worked, for 7 years in the United Nations, and I always say this, for more than 70 years, we have not had a woman Secretary General in the United Nations. If there was a woman leading, inshallah, I believe there wouldn't be any war, because I think everyone would have been put in their place. I believe this. I truly believe this. And I do think we should not, say, and be apologetic about being emotional. And being emotional and being empathetic. And I remember Jacinda Ardern on her departure, she said that she was too empathetic and that's why she had to leave. And that bothers me. You don't have to be brash and be loud. You can be human and you can be compassionate leader. You can be a consultative leader and you can be an emotional leader without the stigma being attached to it. Thank you.
Can I add? Okay, just want to add about this emotional secretary area. All right, we have our limbic system in our brain. So this is actually the most important part. Yeah, being a human is differentiate. You can differentiate human and robot because they have emotion. So emotions are very good, but to understand the formation of emotion, it actually starts from your childhood period. So why certain people are very emotional, some are not, some has a very resilient, some very sarcastic in thinking. It is actually go back to the personality. So that usually we secretaries will look at individual cases, and it is actually a dynamic thing, meaning to understand the background of the so-called leaders whatsoever. You need to understand what happened when she was a child, what happened she was in primary school, secondary school, what event had she gone through. So then only you understand the background. It is always in the context. That's why if you can go through and go and find about Brun-Friend-Berner theory, ecological theory, then you will understand that this lady is like this because this is the story, and that lady is like that because this is the story. So everybody has different story. So we just appreciate whatever you are feeling, and inshallah, all good, inshallah, if we understand everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yasmin and Dr. Norzila. We're going to take one final question from the floor over here at this table.
Okay, as a woman in cyber, right, we know that we've been working like long hours and then been stressful. Oh, sure. So it's quite interesting talking with the psychiatrists and talking about the emotionals and everything, but I would like to know, like, how do you manage your mental health while doing all this kind of stressful work? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, what is the question? How? Oh, how do I manage my mental health?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. First and foremost, we need to understand your body, because our body and our mind is you. All right, the two components, the mind, body. So when you understand, it is actually the perception, meaning that if you don't like me, you will be very stressful right now. But who would like to see me, will be okay. The same stimulus, right? So when you see something like you don't like Dr. Yasmin, you'll be very stressful. But if you like her, or when she comes, you give flowers, all right? So this is actually about perception. When you perceive something as a threat, your limbic system, there is one structure called amygdala, it will be stimulated, and it will then create cascades of reaction And at the end of the day, your stress hormone will be released from your adrenal gland just on top of your kidney. And this cortisol is called stress hormone. And the stress hormone will affect, when it is delivered to your body, it will affect all your body. You will have blood pressure high, you will have palpitation, pumping heart, and then difficulty in breathing. Some sort like if you have experienced panic, and then sometimes you have gastric problem, you have all sort of things. Some people have low immunity as well. All right. So previously people say cancer cause stress, diabetes cause stress, but nowadays stress cause cancer, stress cause diabetes, stress cause hypertension. Right. So when you understand the physiology of your body, then only you need to know the cognitive theory, which is actually what we call a triad of back triad. What you think, there is a triad. What you think will affect your emotion. What your emotion will affect your behavior. So if you feel happy, your emotion, if you think that something is good, your emotion will be happy and your behavior will be happy. So we combine that one. And another thing is actually to understand your personality, like I just mentioned just now, to understand the context. Yeah, if you understand this, inshallah you will understand yourself, and then you can manage. Oh, I don't want to see this as stress. This is happy. Even though I don't like Dr. Yasmin, but I see she's very beautiful. She is, when she speaks, it's very inspiring. You see the positive side, and then take it as a motivation for you to like her. Your stress hormone don't come on, and then you feel okay. It is just about the perception and the reaction to your body. Inshallah. Thank you.
Can I just add a bit from that question as well? I mean, like, not looking into the perspective as a psychiatrist, of course. I mean, like, as an entrepreneur, and also, the experience of leading, many projects and so on. So I myself, as an entrepreneur, when I started this journey, definitely, even though I haven't started any businesses in our life as, women, our responsibility, we are not just thinking about our job, our career. We as a wife, as a mom, there's so many responsibility out there. When we talk about stress, the stress is always there. So for me, I just want to touch in terms of the mindset. This is why I've learned from my mentor when I started to learn more about personal development and growth mindset. Because I was stuck for many, many years, because when the stress happened, what happened to me is I always run away from that stress. So to one extent, I fall under depression because I just couldn't cope with all those stress. And I don't know what is the right technique on how to face all those stresses until I met one of these doctors. It's just amazing. He told me that, Yasmin, stress will come to you in any way or in any form. You have the choice, to be, how are you going to choose in a way on how you're going to tackle that stress? If you keep on thinking and having that mindset, that stress, will make you become more stressed, and you just don't like it. It's just too uncomfortable. And definitely in terms of your feelings and how you take action will be different. But the moment when you start changing that perspective, as what Dr. Norzila was saying, you will see things in different perspective. However, there's an exercise for it. This is what I've learned from my mentor, because I'm learning all this coaching technique for 4-5 years, and I've been coaching so many ladies out there. So one of the technique I teach the ladies is actually on being aware, that self-awareness. The moment when the anxiety and you feel all this stress, the first thing what you need to do to be aware by asking yourself, what is this stress actually means to you? And then number 2, pick and have a choice. What am I going to do with this stress? Am I going to run away with it? And then what you going to get out of it if you just run away from that stress? Or am I going to choose, I'm going to face that stress? And probably that stress is actually putting me into another pathway that would challenge me, instead of feeling very uncomfortable. This is where also I've learned from my mentor, if you want to go and, to change in terms of your personal growth and so on, you got to learn how to stretch yourself out from the comfort zone. So actually the stress will be there. It's not to, to make you takut. It's not to make that you should run away from it. It's just a matter of to exercise you. So this is where I was saying to many of my clients, it's an exercise, it's an internal exercise to exercise your courage, your resilience, all within you, so that whenever things happen again, all the challenges might hit you again. If you have that in different perspective, inshallah, you will go through that training and over again. To one point, you feel you're getting more comfortable with all those stress. And one day you might be thinking like, how come my life seems to be very, very, like without any stress? This is kind of weird, then you keep on thinking about, I need some challenge here. So it's all again in terms of your mindset, how you want to put it into your mindset and how you want it to change and grow, inshallah.
Thank you so much once again, Mrs. Adila, Dr. Jasmine, Dr. Norzila, and all of our panel speakers over here today. Thank you for holding space for such important conversations and questions. And I'm sure that each one of their answers brought such a unique perspective while also building on top of one or the other. And now we've come to the end of our casual conversation session, but we've come to a very exciting part of the afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to first acknowledge and appreciate all of our speakers here on stage. And we've been speaking so much about allies and having people in our corner. And so today I'd like to invite a very strong ally for all the work that's done here at Women in Cyber, technologist Syed Muhammad Akbarino, Senior Assistant Director of National Cybersecurity Agency, NACSA, to present special tokens to our speakers this afternoon. Our first gift is for Miss Adila Junid. Let's put our hands together once again. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Jasmine Begum for all of her contribution here today. And last but not least, Dr. Norzila Zakaria has flown all the way here from Kelantan once again. And we'll just take a group photo before Reno, you can go off stage. Thank you. I'm going to request for our speakers to remain on stage. Thank you so much, Mr. Akbarino, for giving the gifts to our speakers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to appreciate and acknowledge you for being here. So could I please ask Dr. Norzila, Dr. Jasmine, and Ms. Adila just to remain on stage for a very special lucky draw. So we've requested each one of you to drop in your business cards into the bowl right at the registration counters. I hope you have, because there are going to be 5 lucky winners today of very, very special gifts. So I'm going to ask if Dr. Norzila, if you can pick the first 3 cards and just let me know their names too. Okay, first up we have Mr. Afiq Lamaznun, Technologist, Assistant General Manager from Primary Guard, Sendirian Berhad. Hopefully he is here. If he's not here, that means it's one of you is extra lucky. So we'll get another card. We've got Ayn Hazwani Ahmad Rizal from SAIS Army. Wonderful. Let's put our hands together for Ayn. We hope that you enjoy the special gifts provided for you here today at Women in Cyber. Can we get Dr. Jasmine to select the second card?
Nor Azrina Muhammad Yusuf from Hafid Padu, oh, High-Tech Padu actually. Oh, there you are. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Jasmine. So once again, Nora Azrina from High-Tech Padu. Thank you for being here. Dr. Norzila, if you could pick our next card. Yes, we've got 5 lucky winners. So I even see somebody has written their name on a piece of paper because they didn't bring their card. I like the dedication. Our next lucky winner is Azlina binti Arifin from TM, Telecom Malaysia. It seems that they are very good friends, so there's a small reunion also happening on stage. It's a gift that keeps on giving, this Women in Cyber Luncheon. Thank you. And Dr. Jasmine, for our 4th. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I'll come over to you. Okay, we've got Candice Lim from Sydentic. Sindrian Bahat, I hope I'm saying it right. Sydentic, perhaps? Okay, we've got another extra lucky person then. Adila, go ahead and pick your another card. Okay, we've got one more person from High-Tech Padu, so you're going to figure out which one among you, okay? Suri Nadra Muhammad Shaha from High-Tech Padu. You are our 4th lucky winner for today. And for our final lucky draw winner, let's see who is going to have the best luck of all. Chang Pei Shan from Signing Cloud. Are you here? Okay, well, again, one luckier winner, luckiest winner of all. Okay, we've got Elia Yusuf from Deloitte. Yay! Yes. Thank you once again to all our speakers. You may proceed to your seats. And ladies and gentlemen, you know, while we've been drawing so much of inspiration from the book, She Inspires Leaders, it would be unfair to finish off without letting you know about the book sale that is happening. So if you have been inspired and received value from this luncheon conversation, I'm sure you'd be even more inspired when you get your hands on a copy of She Inspires Leaders. The book will be on sale at the registration table for RM 45 ringgit, and all proceeds will be going to a non-profit organization, Rauda Sakinah Kelantan. Rauda Sakinah Kelantan was established to encourage wayward young female youth to return to the teachings of Islam as a way of life and rebuild self-confidence towards creating a healthier lifestyle and contributing positively to society. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, the book is for sale outside at only ringgit 45. And we hope that you will contribute, buy one for yourself, buy one for your friends, your colleagues. This book is sure to inspire many around you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of our Women in Cyber Luncheon. Thank you so much for being here, and I'd like to leave you with a quote that we have all experienced here today, I think. If you want to light others, you have to glow first. And today we witnessed all of our passionate speakers share their light with us today, and we hope that you are empowered to shine your light and pass the light on to others around you. We'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to all of our speakers here and who are joined us online for making this such a vibrant and fulfilling conversation. We thank you for your participation and for your fullest attention in being here during this entire luncheon. And ladies and gentlemen, not to forget, CYDES 2023 exhibition and conference is still ongoing until tomorrow, 13th of July. And we'd like to invite all of you here to join us for the conferences that we have lined up today and tomorrow, and the exhibition happening at Level 2, Hall 5 for the conferences, and Hall 6 for the exhibition respectively. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We hope that you've been inspired. We hope that you've been engaged with the conversations, and go on and shine your light to the rest of the world. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.